What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build a stunning all-white gaming PC build. A system that's going to provide great performance at 1440p, uses some components that look downright amazing, and features a few interesting part choices that might require just a little bit of explanation. I'll be taking you guys along for the ride, seeing what goes right and maybe what goes a little bit wrong. What the... Oh, man alive! And of course, looking at that all-important benchmark data later, testing this system in some of their most popular titles. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. I'm going to start today's build by saying a big thanks to ASUS for helping to make this build possible and sending over loads of white components, and begin as always by talking about the GPU and the CPU combo. Although I've lost the CPU, where the hell? Here it is. Now I've gone for quite a controversial combo in this build in terms of the RTX 5070 and a Core Ultra 5 CPU. And before you go to the comments and go, James, you've got this wrong, let me explain my thought process. Now, in terms of graphics cards, the 5070 is now available for basically MSRP, not just here in the UK, but US pricing on this card is getting better and better too. And while my initial thoughts on the 5070 around things like VRAM still reign true, considering how much cheaper this is than the RX 9070 in the actual real market, it makes sense for today's build. The latest Steam hardware survey data also shows a lot of you guys want NVIDIA cards in your systems. NVIDIA's feature set is, I guess, a little better in terms of their ray tracing and DLSS being more refined than the AMD alternatives. And as I say, availability on these cards is so much better. I've also noticed that in white theme builds, white NVIDIA cards are much easier to get hold of. White AMD cards are really expensive. We did a build recently with a Power Color Hellhound that we found for like over $1,000, which is massively inflated versus MSRP, and thankfully these products are a little better. Now, in terms of the processor, I've gone for the Core Ultra 5 245K, and this might again sound like a weird choice, but look at pricing. Prices on Core Ultra have fallen through the floor. The reason being is that at their launch prices, they were uncompetitive versus AMD's options. That's no longer the case. And it's not just CPUs, it's actually motherboards too, which is where this comes in from ASUS. It's their B860A gaming Wi-Fi. And as a result of weak sales of CPUs, guess what? The motherboard prices have come down too. And when we look at some gaming benchmarks side by sides, comparing the Core Ultra 5 245K against the Ryzen 5 9600X with the 5070 I've picked in this build, and you can see the difference is really very minimal. Plus, Intel actually fixed a lot of the problems with 14th gen with Core Ultra. Things like power consumption and heat output are now way better, and you get widespread PCI Gen 5 support on the LGA 1851 socket too. I actually really like what ASUS have done with this particular board design, and you can see why for a white build, I thought it was gonna be the best choice. Look at that. Now, if I was gonna be super critical, the only thing I don't like is the RAM DIMMs. These should absolutely be white. The PCI slot's white, so they can obviously do it, but otherwise it's perfect. You get a nice grey design on the back of the PCB, but actually more of a white on the front, and all of the heatsinks fit the nice silver white theme that we're going for, which is good. And the I/O on this board is also really rather good, with loads of high-speed USBs. You've got USB-C, your 5 gig USB 3s, and a 2.5 gig Ethernet. Plus, you get Wi-Fi 7 and even optical audio, which I always like to see included on motherboards. Sticking with the white theme, and I've also gone for some white DDR5 memory. This is Corsair's Vengeance RGB DDR5. It's 6000 with a CAS latency of 30, which is perfect, and 32 gigs is the exact capacity you're going to want for a system like this. In terms of storage, I'm literally dropping everything today. This right here, what the? Oh, man alive. Right, pause the video. We're gonna start again. I'll be back. I've gone and magnetised my hands, and hopefully I'll stop dropping things. This is the Teamgroup MP44L. It's my SSD of choice, and I've gone for the 2TB drive. It's not very expensive, it provides good Gen 4 speeds, and when we reviewed it over on GeekaWhat.com, link in the cards section now, we thought it was really rather good. This might sound really stupid, but I think my microphone is on the opposite side to normal. It's affecting the energy in the room. I sound like a complete lunatic. Anyway, Anyway, let's talk about, what should we talk about next? The cooler. Let's talk about the cooler. Now, I've gone for this Stix with the white ASUS theme in today's build. It's a bit overkill, I'm not gonna lie, but it does look really rather nice. It's the ASUS ROG Strix LC3 360 ARGB. And as I say, it's gonna look really, really good in the build today. Power supply and fans next. I've got some extra fans here. These are the Tough fans, and they now do them in reverse. Again, that's gonna help improve things like case airflow, and they're pretty good value for money. Power supply, what? You know when you say you're feeling fine, you're not feeling, yeah, okay. Okay. Power supply. This is the Prime 850 watt gold. It's got 850 watts gold and it's ATX3. Good. And it's white, so yeah, everything we need in a build, fully modular, ticks a lot of the boxes, and again, isn't gonna break the bank. And I'll leave latest pricing and availability for Amazon and Newegg down in the description below. Now, there is one more component left to cover off, and that is the case, which I'm really, really hoping I don't drop, because it's heavy and it's missing. The computer case has arrived. Yes, here we are. We've got the new, refreshed ASUS GT502 Horizon ARGB. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting case that I've been waiting to get hands-on with for a little while. I was actually a pretty big fan of the original GT502 and did a couple of builds with it here on the channel. And this one promises to be new and, crucially, improved. So there's a few things that are new. The front panel is now edge-to-edge glass, whereas before you had like a bit of a border, so that's an improvement. You now get ASUS's new fans included, so you get reverse blades on the front and a standard at the back. They look really rather good. I don't fully understand why they haven't put the Tough fans in. I think these fans might be slightly better than the Tough fans, but you would think that they might use the Tough fans in the Tough case, maybe. Good, it's got the same handles that we saw before. It's got toolless side panel removal, so you can just press the button. Pops out, which is really rather nice. Build quality still feels pretty good, like the last design. You get room for standard ATX motherboards in here. There's no reverse connect motherboard cutout. Maybe they'll do a GT502 Horizon BTF at some point, probably. And yeah, I think I really actually quite like it. So what I'm gonna do is just take off the front and the rear side panels, get those out the way for now, and then move over to sort out the motherboard assembly in today's build. To mix things up a bit, I'm actually gonna install the motherboard into the case first, and then use the screws that come included with the case accessory box to secure the motherboard down. There's 9 in total, so that includes 3 at the top, 3 along the middle, and a further 3 down the bottom. Next step is installing the processor. Now, this is very similar to AMD, but obviously with a bit of an Intel twist. The triangle is just down in the bottom left corner, just here. Socket cover returns down, arm goes into place, and that's it. Really all there is to it. After that, I'm gonna do the RAM DIMMs next. They're gonna go in the 2nd and 4th slots before finally finishing off with the M.2 SSD, which is really easily installed with this nice little toolless latch on the top NVMe slot. Now then, the next step is the cooler. And what I'm going to need to do most likely is install a backplate and some additional mounting hardware to actually get this thing up and running. The cooler is fairly well packaged. We've got our ASUS ROG branded fans. Very good. They're not pre-installed onto the radiator, which some brands are doing, and that would be an improvement. The radiator itself is this nice little white number. That's really rather good looking. And then we should be able to find a selection of Intel mounting hardware. And that's going to consist of this Intel backplate, this Intel bracket, which is going to go on the cooler and secure into the backplate, and then these combination of posts and screws. So you can see here, got the thumb screw at the top. I'm going to place the bracket through the back of the motherboard, add the male-to-male post on top, change the bracket on the CPU water block itself, and then screw the radiator into the top of the case. Having, of course, already installed the fans onto the radiator, I'm then going to drop a dab of thermal paste onto the CPU, secure the water block down, and add the thumb screws in to secure it onto the processor and keep the CPU in this build nice and cool. With the cooler in, the build is starting to look pretty good. Now, I mentioned earlier about having some extra fans to install, so I might put those at the bottom in a reverse blade configuration, and I'm also going to work on some of the front panel cables and wiring at this stage too. Everything from the HD audio in the bottom left, the front panel in the bottom right, and then both the USB 3 Type A and Type C connections too. Now then, it's power supply time. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but what I didn't tell you is I'm also going to be adding in some PSU cable extensions. These come from a company called Easy DIY Fab and are going to make the CPU and motherboard and GPU cables look that little bit nicer. They're available widely on Amazon. I'll drop a link to them in the description below if you want to pick them up. For now, I'm going to slide the power supply in, connect all the cables, run the extensions, and we should be good to go. And then with the power supply done, it's time for the final part. Now, I mentioned earlier about how this white 5070 Prime card is actually a fairly good value option when it comes to white graphics cards. And hopefully, as I open this thing up, you'll see what I mean. It's good to see the box is white, all the foam is white, and then inside, oh, look at it. What an absolutely gorgeous design. And to think that this is on the budget end of the spectrum, admittedly ASUS's definition of budget is probably slightly more than some other people's, you really can't ask for much more. I also like the fact as well that it uses the new 12-watt high power connector rather than using the 6+2 pins, as that makes life easier, makes cable management look better, and makes everything a bit more simple. And with it ready to go in, I'm just going to loosen this PCI cover at the back of the case, unscrew the second and third PCI slot covers. These are what we need to take out to install our RTX 5070. Quite excited to see how this thing looks actually. Remove those nice and easily and then slot the graphics card into place. Bit of pressure and that's going to click down with really no problems at all. I'm then going to fasten back into place the 2 screws from earlier, just holding the card up to get it nice and tight. This case does come with an included GPU support bracket should we want to actually throw that in. And once you've got the top screw tightened and the rear cover nice and easily closed, you're going to be pretty much good to go. The only thing left is this GPU power extension cable. So I'm going to run that probably through this bottom grommet just here. Tight squeeze. Plug it in to the GPU. Get our cable combs nice and neat. And this thing is going to be ready to power up to see how good it performs. But first, how good it looks in the only way we know how. That's right. It's time for a signature GeekaWhat montage. An interesting looking build then, in a case I actually quite liked, so it's great to see ASUS having updated this with a few new more modern features. Now in terms of performance, you might be slightly skeptical. Core Ultra 5 RTX 5070, is the performance going to be where we need it to be, or should I have gone Ryzen instead? Well, on your screen now is a summary of all the different results we gathered at 1440p high settings. Everything from Doom the Dark Ages and the new Indiana Jones to Cyberpunk, Marvel's Rivals and Apex Legends. Now let's start off, shall we, with Apex Legends, the highest frame rate result of all, 1440p high, and this build pulled in over 280 FPS, a really competitive frame rate. Marvel's Rivals at 1440p high next up performed really well too, in the region of 149 FPS on average, again pretty impressive. Well, moving through to a really intensive title in Doom the Dark Ages, this is where we actually had the lowest FPS result of all. 1440p high, we still achieved that crucial 60 FPS mark, but only by about 5.5 frames per second. Finally, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a good representation of a demanding title that still performed really well. At 1440p high, frame rates were over 100 FPS with 110.7 on average to be precise. Are the hugely discounted prices of Intel Core Ultra enough to persuade you? And with cheaper motherboards and CPUs than the competition, could that finally bring Intel back in the picture? Or if you were going to build this system, would you still go Ryzen? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.